Creatures that fly. The literal translation of the Genesis creation record is that God created the winged things on the fifth day. In fact, the book of Leviticus uses that same word to describe both birds and flying insects, the winged things. There is very little about insects that is particularly attractive. The closer you look at any insect, even butterflies, the more shocking they appear. Much of insect behavior is predatory, bug eat bug. But it's the sin of man that brought all death into the world. God has promised that someday we will all return to the glories of a perfect world, where, no doubt, even insects will play a wonderful part. As strange as they are, even today, insects are an integral part of the creation and represent the largest group of animals in the world. Just the weight of the worldwide insect population is estimated at 6 times the human population, meaning that for every one of you, there's over 800 pounds of them. We will use a common grasshopper as our model for a typical flying insect. Insect segments are the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. Thorax is Greek for chest, where insects normally breathe from, and abdomen simply means the belly, where most of their intestines are. Insects have 6 legs attached to their thorax. It is interesting that the Israelites only counted the front 4 legs as true legs and counted the rear hopping legs as a different appendage. This is why the Bible sometimes refers to grasshoppers and locusts as having only 4 legs. Spiders have 8 legs and 2 body parts, so they aren't classed as true insects. And besides, spiders don't fly, a fact for which we are all very grateful. Most insects have a set of antennae and 2 compound eyes with hundreds of lenses on each eye, allowing them to see in many directions without turning their heads, which most of them can't do anyway. Research suggests that some insects may actually see a whole mosaic of hundreds or thousands of slightly different images with their multiple lenses. Plus, some insects have an additional eye that allows them to see both light and shadows. Most insects hear with little eardrums located just about anywhere. Wings, bellies, head. Our grasshopper has his ears on his abdomen, and crickets have their ears on their knees. Some hear with specialized hairs attached to their antennae, and many taste with sensors located in, of all places, the bottoms of their feet. Inside our grasshopper, everything is tightly packed together. Food enters their mouth and is stored in their crop. If you've ever held a grasshopper, the spit he puts on your hands is food that was stored in his crop. Food then moves into their grinding gizzard, like a bird, then into their stomach, into their colon, and exits as waste. Their brain is a tiny clump of nerves which run the length of the insect. Their heart is a long and thin tube, also running the length of their body. Insects don't have arteries and veins, but instead, the blood fills the insect and is pumped back and forth by their tubular heart. Their blood is yellowish, greenish, or colorless, which you can easily prove by simply looking at your windshield. They breathe through little holes in the thorax where the air fills an internal air sac and is then distributed through the body. The female grasshopper lays about 100 eggs in the fall, which hatch out in the spring. When some insects hatch from an egg, they look like a miniature version of the adult insect, like our grasshopper. At this stage, they're called nymphs. The word nymph roughly means of marriageable age, which is admittedly a little odd. The idea is that because the nymph looks like a miniature adult, it's ready to move right into the adult stage. Other insects, however, go through a series of drastic changes before finally looking like the adult insect. Butterflies and bees, for example, hatch from the egg and look like a caterpillar or a grub, nothing at all like a butterfly or a bee. This is the larva stage. Larva is Latin for ghost, because larva grubs are usually whitish and ghostly looking. A fly larva, for example, which we often call a maggot. At some point, the larva is secluded inside a cell or cocoon called the pupa stage. Pupa is Latin for a puppet, kind of like strings on a puppet and strings around the cocoon. From the pupa, they finally emerge. Then they look like the adult insect. This complete changing from one creature into another is called complete metamorphosis. But if you came out as a nymph, then your change wasn't nearly so drastic, and that's called incomplete metamorphosis. First, we'll look at the straight wings, Orthoptera, from the two words ortho, meaning straight, like in orthodontist, and ptera, meaning wing, named because most insects in this group have straight-edged wings. Grasshoppers, crickets, locusts, and cockroaches are grouped together because their wings are all straight. Grasshoppers can leap 20 times the length of their body. That's like a man jumping 120 feet in one jump. Locusts will swarm in the billions, completely blotting out the noonday sun and covering the desert like a living carpet. Another orthopteran is a mantid, like the praying mantis. The word mantis means to think or to contemplate patiently, because a mantis is a patient but a fierce predator. They sit completely still in their prayer-like position for hours, waiting for something to come along. And when it does, the mantis's huge compound eyes carefully track the insect's movements. Then all of a sudden, their spiny front legs lash out and snatch the victim. The legs fold back in with the insect securely pinned in. Butterflies and moths, on the other hand, content themselves with eating fruit juice. Butterflies and moths are the Lepidoptera, meaning scale wings, because their wings are covered with beautiful microscopic scales. Butterflies are powerful migrating insects, flying nearly 80 miles a day to make the 2,000-mile trip down south. Butterflies are daytime insects and fold their wings together when resting, while moths are generally nocturnal, leaving their wings open while resting. Butterflies are beneficial and pollinate our flowers, while moths are usually pests, eating our food and our clothes. That worm you sometimes find in your apple is no worm, but in fact a pesky moth larva. The toothed ones, Odonata, named because their mouth parts have sharp, tooth-like projections on them. Dragonflies are fierce flying predators and spend their first year or two underwater as fierce aquatic predators. Then they crawl on the land, live only a few weeks, fulfilling their name with aggressive dragon-like behavior. Dragonflies have powerful legs and jaws that snatch their prey from mid-air flight. They are incapable of walking, but can fly nearly as fast as a car on the freeway. They are easily recognized by their fixed wings and huge compound eyes that almost wrap around their head. Before the flood, fossils indicate that some dragonflies were as big as seagulls, with 2.5-foot wingspans. The same wings, Homoptera, named because both the front and back wings are clear and appear very similar. The two most common insects in the Homoptera class are aphids and cicadas. Aphids are small plant-feeding insects and are a serious pest for all gardeners, sucking the juice from plants and spreading plant diseases and fungus. They're often called plant lice. Fortunately, one ladybug beetle can eat up to 50 aphids every day. Cicadas are also plant juice eaters. Many cicadas spend up to 17 years living underground as nymphs, then hatch and burrow to the surface, living only a week or two as adults. You can often hear the treetops ringing with the sound of cicadas on hot summer nights. Their noise is thought to be the loudest sound made by any insect in the world, carrying up to a mile away. The two wings, Diptera. Most flying insects have 4 flying wings, while the insects in this class have only 2. Flies, mosquitoes, and gnats are a general annoyance to everyone, to the point that God used flies and gnats for 2 of his 10 plagues against Egypt. Flies have the well-deserved reputation as pests and carriers of disease. Houseflies feed on dead meat and dung, then, without the slightest hesitation, move on to your picnic lunch. Female mosquitoes spread disease when biting an infected animal or person, then transmitting the disease when they bite another animal or person. They, in fact, are reported to be the most dangerous animal to mankind. The World Health Organization estimates that mosquito-borne diseases kill nearly 2 million people annually and infect up to 700 million. The sheathed wings, Coleoptera. There are over 300,000 different kinds of beetles, making them the largest group of insects in the world. 2 out of 3 insects are beetles. If you have a pair of hard front wings that cover and protect a pair of clear wings, you get to be a beetle. They are everywhere, from scorching deserts and tropical forests to snowy mountains and your backyard. The Goliath beetle is the biggest in the world, weighing as much as an apple and is as big as your hand. Fortunately, they eat fruit and live in Africa. Male stag beetles have gigantic jaws that look like a stag's antlers. They look awesome, but their pinch rarely draws blood. The female, on the other hand, has smaller but more powerful mandibles that can deliver a very powerful and painful bite. The word beetle, incidentally, means to bite. The membrane wings, Hymenoptera, so called because most of them have transparent, flimsy-looking wings. Bees are social insects. So are ants, termites, and wasps, because they live in colonies and build large communal nests and hives. The adult in these social insect colonies tend to care for the young. Different colony members have different jobs, and there is at least one queen in the colony. Other social insects, like the ant workers, are wingless, but since the males and queens have wings, it seems likely that these were all fifth-day creatures. The half-wings, Hemiptera, named because one half of their wing is clear and one half is more leathery-looking. These are the true bugs and include stink bugs, bed bugs, and water bugs, often called water striders, and about 45,000 others. The word bug is commonly used for any insect, but bug is a technical term for a specific kind of insect. Technically, and you may not want to know this, a bug is any insect with a triangular head that can pierce skin and has sucking mouthparts. That's a bug. Stink bugs are also known as shield bugs and produce a foul-smelling liquid when threatened or stepped on. They generally eat plant juice, though some eat other insects. Bed bugs are small nocturnal or nighttime insects feeding on the blood of warm-blooded hosts, like people. Their little bodies flatten out and hide well in warm areas like mattresses, box springs, and bed frames, or just about anywhere. Pest control professionals can eliminate bed bugs using a variety of low-odor sprays, dusts, and aerosols. Those are a few of the more well-known flying insects. There are over 1 million known insects, and many scientists believe there are thousands of other kinds that have never even been seen before. God's workday was completed and the work was glorious. Millions of tiny flying insects, huge flocks of spectacularly different birds, and a vast array of wondrous and awesome sea creatures. By a spoken word from the living God, the entire earth was filled with living creatures on this, the fifth day.